financial problems, elder law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by Thav Gross. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Today's show is, do I need an estate plan? And what about my parents? What about mom and dad? Jim Simasko, welcome back to the show.
It's always a pleasure to be here, Ken.
Jim's our elder law expert. Jim and Pat Simasko from Simasko Law are elder law experts handling Medicaid issues. We work together all the time, side by side, sponsor of the show. We're going to address estate planning, and then if you're in your 50s and you're dealing with your estate plan, your parents are in their 80s and 90s, and they're in that real precarious time. Before we get to it, Jeffrey Kirshner, good to have you back.
Nice to be back. Thanks, Ken.
Cohort in crime, Brian Small, good
Always
to
a
see
pleasure to be here.
you. Okay. Now, let's deal with reality. If you're lucky enough to have this situation, Greg and Marcy, Greg is 55, Marcy's 50,
Where do
they're
you
in
come up
good
with
health.
these names of these of all of them?
Greg and Marcy, I try and come up with names that match the generation. I thought Greg and Marcy's good for 55 and 50. They have 3 children, Paul 22, Sarah 20, Kyle 15. Kyle was the real one that I was focused on for staying consistent with the age pattern. And their parents Greg's parents are both alive, Phil and Vivian. Phil is 85, Vivian is 84. All right, now let's focus first on Greg and Marcy.
Phil prefers to be called Philip, just for the record.
I'll keep that in mind.
All right. Greg and Marcy, what estate planning issues do we have to concern ourselves with them? They have a minor child, Kyle. Paul and Sarah are away at college. Brian, anything that comes to mind there?
Well, with regard to their minor child, they're still entitled to make medical and financial decisions on the minor child's behalf. But their children have reached the age of majority, 18. Funny enough, they think that they can still make decisions for them, and they legally can't. They can't make a medical decision. They can't make a financial decision. They can have an opinion, but without either a medical power of attorney or a financial power of attorney. Greg and Marcy.
There you go.
There we go.
And their kids.
Can't make any decisions
Paul and Sarah.
for Paul and Sarah at all.
There's going to be an exam later in the show for all the children and all the names, so you guys have to be really on top of it.
Okay.
It won't be at the break.
But regardless of whether I get the names right, the reality is that when your child turns 18, you no longer have the legal ability to make a decision
all right,
for
so
them.
they're at college. So what are you saying? You should have a durable power of attorney and a healthcare power for them just
Absolutely.
in case the need arises?
It was funny. When my daughter turned 18, I said, congratulations, sign here. And she had to sign both of those documents.
Okay, now what about Kyle, Pat?
Yes.
Or I'm sorry, I call you Pat. Jim, Kyle is a minor. So for the minor, the issue is what happens if Greg and Marcy, die?
Get hit
If
by the
you
bus?
Get hit by the bus, the plane goes down, whatever. It's a catastrophe that you don't want to think about, but bad things do happen. That's where you need a guardianship appointment, right?
Yes, and for the guardianship appointment, what the parents should do is set forth in legal documents who they want to be the guardian ahead of time.
Put that in their will.
But put that definitely, who they want to take care of them and under what circumstances can that child have money. You don't want to give all the money, to an 18-year-old.
No, they'll go buy a
It'll be gone
Corvette.
at 19.
Yeah, they'll buy a Corvette. It'll be gone.
I mean,
but it'll be a cool Corvette.
The thing that people don't realize is everybody in their 30s, 40s, and 50s that have minor children, sometimes they're putting off the idea of doing an estate plan because they're not worried about it. There's 2 things going on. One is,
why should I do an estate plan? I don't have an estate. I don't have any money.
you have life insurance typically in that circumstance. Number
But that's
one.
what people
But
think. Why,
even
I
if
don't
you
have any money, so-
money, you got to worry about who's going to take care of my minor children when I die. You don't want all of a sudden the grandparents are fighting about it and the aunts and uncles, and you're going to leave the decision to the probate judge.
Right.
You don't want that
Is
kind
it
of trauma for your
dispositive when you
kids.
put it in your will that as long as the person who accepts to be the guardian, that the guardianship will.
The court will give that people high preference, the parent's choice. But if they appoint someone and they're a train wreck, if they're a terrible person, an alcoholic, a drug addict, the court can step in and do what they feel is in the best interest of the child.
So generally speaking, your appointment's going to be upheld.
Absolutely.
But if you don't make an appointment, then you got a free for all.
It's not good enough to say we had discussions before, and I know that they wanted me because we had discussions 2 months ago at dinner time, or it's the obvious choice that this is the better solution than anyone else. You have to put it in writing. Right?
And when you think about it, a lot of people want to put the parents, the grandparents in charge. You have to think about it, well, if the kid's 3 years old, that may be the appropriate, but think 15 years down the road.
Yeah, and it's a big decision. Do you take do you go to your siblings? Do you go to your brother, your sister? But then you have to work that out with your spouse, with your wife. If you're the husband with the wife, whose brother, whose sister takes care of the kids? They're difficult decisions. Usually, when I have a client coming in and we're doing estate planning, and it's a young couple with young kids, that's the question that they can't answer at the initial meeting. They have to call me back later and say, we've thought about it, this is who we want as the guardian.
And I've
for the
even
kids.
had people that say the wife chooses one set of people as guardian and the husband chooses the other, because the only way the guardianship is going to be is who dies second, because otherwise the spouse is going to be the guardian of their own children first.
Well, if one dies first, then you have the time for the survivor then has the choice to change their mind anyway.
Right.
But it's a difficult issue. But here's the point: estate planning is not just about taking care of your assets when you die. That is an important point. But the things that we've covered right now, the durable power of attorney, the healthcare power of attorney, the designation for guardianship, these are things everybody needs to take care of regardless of what your finances are. Now, when we talk about you pass away, even if you don't have a lot of assets, you probably have life insurance and you're going to leave it, and if you may leave it to your spouse, that's fine, but if your spouse is gone and it talks about leaving it to the kids, you have issues that you have to deal with. Do you want to leave it to them at a designated age? Do we want to leave it to them so all of a sudden they inherit $500,000 when they're 20 years old? We're coming up to a break. When we come back from the break, we're going to address that issue. But I suggest to you that over time, your perceptions of that issue change. But right from the beginning, I think we can all agree, you don't leave $500,000 to an 18-year-old. We'll be back after the break.
It's devastating, the effects of debt and foreclosure on you and your family. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem. Some fear the word bankruptcy, but in reality, it's a strategy to save your home and to eliminate debt. If you're in financial trouble, timing is critical. You need to take action now. We've been saving homes and eliminating debt for over 33 years.
Call Fav Gross 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Fav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Fav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Samasco Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the Medicaid and nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Fav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirschner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Thav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Thav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
All right, welcome back. All right, so here's the situation. Greg and Marcy, they're doing their estate plan. They've got 3 kids, Paul, Sarah, and Kyle, and they're all young. If Greg and Marcy go down and all the money is left, we don't want 500, let's say it's $1 million, and we're going to leave all the money equally to the 3 kids. What do? We put it in, we create a trust for them. We do it, typically rather than doing a will, we do what we call a pour-over will and a living trust so that we avoid the probate process. Doesn't really cost any more money to do a trust than it does to do a will. It's just a different document that has the benefit of when you're living, you create the trust, the assets go into the trust. When you pass away, you don't have to go through the probate process. And we've talked about that a million times on the show. I don't want to focus on that. I want to instead focus on how do we take care of leaving the money for the benefit of the 3 kids, but we don't want them to go blow it.
Sure. The first thing you need to do is they need to determine who do they want in charge of the money. Who's going to be the person distributing the money to these kids? Now, the 15-year-old obviously can't get the money. They have to determine at what age the money the kids get and under what circumstances can they get the money before they turn that age. So typically we put the language in there that they can use the money for their health, their welfare, their education. So when Kyle turns 18 and he wants to go to Michigan State or Michigan or Wayne State, the money's available. If he wants to go to the Tattoo Institute of San Jose,
maybe not.
Maybe not. If he wants a reasonable car.
Wait, are you saying this Tattooed Institute is not a good place?
Probably not. It's probably not a good lifelong skill that they need to learn.
Big market for tattoos lately.
If you're an artist, if you're good at it, but very few are good at it.
We don't want them to blow the money. And then we can do one of 2 things. We can say when they're 35, 40, and 45 or something, they get a third, and third. Or we can make it discretionary that says as long as it keeps going, it's still in trust. The trustee doles the money out for them at the trustee's discretion. What Brian and I like about that is if they have financial problems along the way, if the money's still in trust and the distribution to them is discretionary in the determination of the trustee, and we have what's called a spendthrift provision, which we will have, in that circumstance, the creditors can't get to the money, nor can the bankruptcy trustee.
No, nobody can get to that money as long as.
Nor can the wife if they get divorced too.
Right.
As long as the assets are
Or
held
the
in
husband,
trust.
and the other way around.
And there's a spendthrift provision, and the discretionary powers are to the trustee. No, there is no way anyone in the files of bankruptcy is going to lose those assets.
So important points for people to think about when you do the estate plan.
And you don't.
These are
and you
straightforward issues that
you don't
are important.
think about your kids filing bankruptcy, when you're for the most part. But it's
happens.
not a big deal to add these provisions into the trust.
And when people you do not have the ability to protect the future. Think about 2004 versus 2010. The economy fell apart in 2008. So many people were affected by that recession that no one ever imagined it could be so big. Do you really think that we're recession free for the rest of our lives?
Well, before 2008, nobody ever thought that the real estate was going to go down in value again. It's always been your biggest, safest investment.
Do you think that could happen again?
Absolutely could.
We certainly can't say it can't happen.
History
again.
can repeat itself.
All right, different issue.
And does.
And
also
will.
the power of attorney issue. So Greg and Marcy, they're in their 50s. Okay. I can leave a power of attorney gives, let's say I want to give Marcy my power of attorney that says she can take care of anything that I can take care of without me, in case I'm not available, in case I'm out of town. There's 2 ways of doing that power of attorney. It can be immediate, so then Marcy can act for me right off the bat, or it can be what?
It's springing. It could come into effect in the future only if under certain circumstances. Typically, if Greg becomes disabled, then it becomes effective. Just like a medical power of attorney. Medical power of attorneys aren't effective until the doctors say you can't make medical decisions for yourself. So it's very important to make that distinction on what clients want to do, whether it's a springing durable power of attorney that comes into effect in the future or an immediate one that has the effect on the day that it's signed.
See, the way I look at it is this. Two circumstances where you see the immediate. When you have the older couple in their late 60s, 70s, and 80s, and there's health concerns with one, you typically want to make the power immediate so that you don't have to go through any process of being able to represent and act as the attorney, in fact, for the person. There's a trust factor, though. When it's an immediate power, the person that has that power can do anything that you can do. So if you're worried about that person taking your money and skipping town, you don't make it an immediate power. The other time for the immediate power, not only the elder party, is go back to what Brian was talking about before. If you're still managing your kids' affairs and you're paying for their college and everything else when they're 18, you probably want that power to be immediate, where the parent has immediate authority over the child, but not the reverse.
I'll give you the simplest example of needing to use it. Billing dispute with the college. The kid is 18 years old, 19 years old. They're not sophisticated enough to figure out how to deal with it.
Nor do they care.
No, nor do they care how to deal with the billing dispute. And the university won't talk to you unless you have the power of attorney.
Yeah, that could like bust your blood vessels right there. When you're paying all this money for college, you call up the university and say, "I'm sorry, we can't talk to you.
We'll talk to your child.
We can only talk to your child." And we talked to your child said everything's fine. Don't bother with it. My dad will pay the bill.
Yep.
You know, but then there's also the question of, Marcy and what's the husband's name, and Greg. Does Greg give Marcy the power of attorney immediate or springing now when they're in their 40s and 50s? That's something every couple needs to decide for themselves, because there is a trust issue. How solid is the marriage? How solid is the relationship? If it's solid, that mitigates towards immediate. If it's not solid, you got to be careful. And you got to be practical. Not every relationship out there is solid, otherwise we wouldn't have a divorce rate like what we have. So you need to take those decisions carefully, and you need to investigate them and make the right decisions, and they're personal. They're not always a team decision. They have to be made individually. We come back, we're going to talk about the parents.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
A lifetime of hard work. If you're approaching retirement and don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your investments, and your savings. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Putting a solid strategy in place with Samasco Law legally protects your assets as well as your wishes. Since a will doesn't cover you medically or financially, Samasco Law goes beyond ordinary asset management protection to safeguard everything you have.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Thav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
Let's do announcements. Want to remind our viewers to listen to us Tuesdays noon to 1, 6 to 7 p.m. Law and Reality Live on WCHB 1200 99.9 FM. Thursdays 3 to 4 Law and Reality Now with Cliff Russell on 910 a.m. We've got seminars coming up on Wednesday, May 24th, 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. There's no better way to enjoy the summer than to become debt-free. We're going to focus on all the systems and methods we use to preserve future income for you and your family. The best way to do that, in my view, is you've got to eliminate the debt, and then that way you can take the money you were spending on making your credit card payments and you can start saving that for your future into retirement. Attendees also get a free copy of my book, Dump Your Debt. Sign up at lawandreality.com, thavgross.com, or the old-fashioned way, call 888-235-HELP. Then on Wednesday, June 7th, from 6 o'clock to 7:30 p.m., we have a senior care seminar called I'm 55, my parents are 80, what do I need to know? We're going to focus on estate planning for middle-aged individuals. Plus, if you're in your 50s, what about your mom and dad who are in their 80s and 90s? You need to plan for them in case they need nursing care. You need to know the rules for Medicaid planning. There's a lot of information you need to know. Pat Simasko from Simasko Law is going to join us to go over elder law issues. Brian's going to talk about debt issues. I'm going to talk about the basic estate planning issues. Sign up at lawandreality.com, thavgross.com, or call 888-235-HELP. I want to remind our viewers you can always sign up for a free consultation at Thav Gross. If you need assistance with any area that we talk about on the show, financial issues, debt issues, workers' comp, disabilities issues with Jeffrey Kirshner, elder law issues with Pat Simasko, tax issues with Jenny Lingo, just go on the website, request a free consultation, and then we'll call you and set an appointment. Or you're always welcome to just call 888-235-HELP. I want to thank our sponsors, Thav Gross, Simasko Law, and Jeffrey Kirshner, Kirshner Law. We'll be back.
It's devastating, the effects of debt and foreclosure on you and your family. There is a solution.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem. Some fear the word bankruptcy, but in reality, it's a strategy to save your home and to eliminate debt. If you're in financial trouble, timing is critical. You need to take action now. We've been saving homes and eliminating debt for over 33 years.
Call Thav Gross, 888-235-HELP. You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirshner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, now we're going to talk about Greg's parents, Phil and Vivian. But before we do, we were talking at the break, and what was the point on the power of attorney?
The power of attorneys, the patient advocates, the guardians for the child, it can always be changed, and it should be changed. You know, a lot of young people, you're 40, you appoint your parents to be your power of attorney. You know, 20 years later,
they can't handle it.
They can't handle it, or they shouldn't have to.
So they're not, the documents are not cast in stone forever. You need to evaluate them periodically and look at it. So if you haven't had an estate planning done in 10 years, you should take a look at it in terms of and freshen it up. Your perception. First of all, your perceptions of your children's level of responsibility, I guarantee you, will change every 10 years.
My feeling is that you should
Every day.
review your estate plan every 5 to 7 years. I think that it doesn't mean you're going to change it, but it should be reviewed.
No,
All right,
it will
let's get- all right, I wanna
change.
get-
Yes, it's changed.
Absolutely. Let's get to Phil and Vivian, though. Phil's 85, Vivian's 84. House is worth $250. They got a $100,000 mortgage. They have a 2009 Jeep Grand Cherokee that's owned. They got $350,000 cash in the bank. They're healthy now. They can't escape the inevitable.
Yes.
One of them is going to, unless you get lucky and you live to 95 and you're vibrant, you're healthy, you're still bowling and golfing, and then you just gone. Short of that, you have the problem of what happens in between, and does the nursing home come in care? And nursing home care, $9,000 to $12,000 a month,
Easy.
average stay,
Yes.
31 months, 32 months.
Yes. devastate anyone's financial situation.
So what do you do in that case, Jim?
Well, if you're married, we can save all the money. Typically, if one of the parties go in the nursing home, one spouse goes in, there are provisions in the law to protect the money for the stay-at-home spouse. We don't want to leave the stay-at-home spouse impoverished. If you're single, it gets really, really bad. We can save half the money, 60% of the money, but we can't save it all. So it's very, very crucial to do a Medicaid plan. The estate plan should take into consideration nursing home costs that may be out there, and we can protect it. And the longer the time we have to protect it, the more benefits we can
So you
give
can
to
get
the
around
people.
that 5-year look-back rule?
The 5-year look-back period and other things too. If if Dad's 95 and Mom's 94, in our scenario, Dad shouldn't have Mom as the beneficiary of his life insurance policies and his IRAs, because typically when people are old, they take care of each other, and when one of them's gone, then their primary caregiver's gone, and the chance of nursing home or extended medical care goes up. The chances of that happening increases.
So what people have to realize is this: if you're widowed, from a Medicaid standpoint, you can keep $2,000 of cash, your home, you can have a contract to bury yourself, and you can have a car.
And that's it.
That's it. So if you had $350,000 in the bank, that $350,000 is going to have to be used up on the nursing home before Medicaid would kick in for you.
Unless you properly do Medicaid planning.
Now, I know there are people out there that, because I sometimes get comments back there saying, oh, so you're coming up with this massive structure to save the money and putting so that the rest of the taxpayers bear the brunt through Medicaid. My answer to those people that scour at that is, perhaps you're correct, that that's not what our focus is. What our focus is when someone comes in is our focus is on, for Phil and Vivian, our focus is on, if Phil has to go in the nursing home, we have to make sure that there's money to take care of Vivian. And Vivian comes first in our analysis. If Vivian's widowed, we look at it and say, Phil and Vivian spent their whole life trying to amass some money. We want to make sure that we preserve it as best as we can, and if Phil and Vivian would rather leave it to their children after they're gone, rather than having it go to the state, our job is to protect Phil and Vivian. We're not here to make a political statement as to what's right and wrong. What we're here to do is protect the individual. You guys all have to make your own decision on that, but what I submit to you, and we talk about it all the time on the show and the radio shows, it's a tough world out there. I don't see the government or anyone else stepping out trying to help you. You got to help yourself. And Medicaid planning is critically important in the circumstance where you don't have long-term care insurance and you don't have $5 million in the bank. And that's why we've got Jim and Pat to take care of that issue, and it crosses the board for everybody. Have a great week. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality.